Rubius Hagrid, keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts. Of course, you'll know all about Hogwarts.
Alrighty.
Fourth episode of an Unearthly podcast. It is October 1st, 2014, and we are streaming live on twitch.tv/madmat2185. Today's episode features Kill the Moon, written by Gareth Roberts and Stephen Moffat. As always,
You just mentioned the wrong title.
Oh, shoot. We were talking about it before the podcast. Wow.
I would like to note that I can't review that episode yet, as I have not seen it.
Well, Bill, since you're from the future, you tell us about it.
Oh, I can tell you about it.
I can't do a summary for an episode I have not seen.
Today's episode features The Caretaker, written by Gareth Roberts and Stephen Moffat. As usual, you can follow us on our playlist on youtube.com/maninblack-reviews, on facebook.com/unearthlypodcast, and on twitter.com/unearthlypod. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Glad to know you.
Our news, as seems to be the case whenever Doctor Who is in season, kicks off with our Lost Stories segment. In this case, a companion who is exclusive to the Big Finish audio production. Only problem with my choice of links there is I always forget which one's her real name and which one's her
Maggie
character name.
Stables is the actress who played Evelyn Smythe. Evelyn Smythe was known for being the only elderly companion to the Doctor.
Oh, I think I might have seen something with her in it.
Did I ever show you any clips from Doctor Who and the Pirates? Because she was the companion in that one.
I don't. I have a DVD that was kind of unofficially made that had her and the Cybermen in it.
Was that real time?
I might be. I don't know. It might be in the stack somewhere.
She was the companion in real time as well.
Oh, she looks like she was one of the one-off characters in the Sirens of Time. So I'm trying to remember her character now.
Elderly woman.
I hadn't even known she was ill. It would explain why they hadn't done any more companion episodes with Evelyn.
Yeah, that would explain it a bit.
There's no note of her age on that article. Let's check on the Doctor Who news article, or if it mentions her age or reason.
Well, let me have a look. Find.
She died in her sleep on Friday night. Is her age there?
Friday 26th, September, after a long illness.
Evelyn featured in 20 Big Finish productions, by the way.
Okay.
Is that impressive?
That's a decent amount.
No, nobody has her date. She's listed, even on IMDb, as unknown to 2014. So...
I'm checking her on Wikipedia.
I checked her on Wikipedia, too. They don't have her birth date.
Seriously?
She apparently has been sick for a while. It says has died after a long illness. So yeah,
it's possible that her record was destroyed in the war.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You'd think they would remake those records by now.
Yeah, but that means that they didn't know the exact birth date. They don't know if it was like 19,
Yeah.
36 or
And
37.
Ask.
the years following the war weren't like they are nowadays. It's not like it's not like everybody's going to go online and put their birthday on stuff. And even now, there's some people who are very skeptical of putting that information anywhere remotely public for the sake of identity theft and
Yeah,
whatnot.
and you also have to remember that Britain didn't recover from World War II as fast as the United States did. I mean, we kind of went from the war straight into the 50s, and Britain took a while. Even in the early 60s, they were still on rationing from the war.
Well, to be fair, Britain was a lot closer to the actual fighting in the war.
True.
Yeah.
With certain other circumstances.
And Britain also was this tiny island that just lost its empire.
Yeah, whereas I think we had one short battle on U.S. soil, whereas they had a few more battles on British Empire soil.
Yep, their infrastructure was pretty badly damaged. Ours was just fine, so we had a huge production going on. They had lost their empire, which was where they had gotten a good chunk of some of their production and their agriculture from places like India and all that, and suddenly they had to start buying it. So yeah, things were pretty bad in England. So yeah, the fact that they didn't get all these records rewritten happened.
Yeah.
But other things to think about.
Let's see, on to some other news. Mummy on the Orient Express has followed suit with some of its previous episodes and announced a delay. In this case, instead of an 8:30 time, it will be 8:35.
And this, once again, was going to put it right up against ITV's The X Factor.
Apparently, Strictly Come Dancing is running 5 minutes long this coming week.
Eventually, they're just going to take over Doctor Who's time slot entirely. It's going to be Strictly Come Dancing all the way up to 8:45. Ladies and gentlemen, Doctor Who will not be seen tonight in order that we can bring you the extended version of Strictly Come Dancing.
No, they'll just do a mashup. Strictly Come Doctor.
No! No!
The doctor,
And you see her now dancing with the Suntaran.
the doctor just walks into the Strictly Come Dancing set. All right, we've got to get this episode on the air.
Did somebody
One way or
ask
another,
Strictly
Doctor Who
Come
will be
Jack?
seen tonight.
Come on, he would do that too. John Barrowman would crash that party.
And he also tried singing.
Included in that is the Mummy on the Orient Express synopsis. I was trying to think of a different word, but whatever word I'm trying to think of is not coming. But the Doctor and Clara are on the most beautiful train in history, speeding among the stars of the future. But they are unaware that a deadly creature is stalking the passengers.
Is it a mummy?
Sounds kind of like End of the World to me. Once you see
Oh
the
my
horrifying...
God. So it's another one of these things where it's called the Orient Express, but it winds up like a space Titanic. The Doctor and Clara are on the Galaxy Express.
3-9?
My brain's going.
Once you see the horrifying mummy, you only have 66 seconds to live. No exceptions, no reprieve. As the Doctor races against...
on this episode, and the first one's going to be Leiji Matsumoto's going to sue somebody.
As the Doctor races against the clock, Clara sees him at his deadliest and most ruthless. Will he work out how to defeat the mummy? Start the clock. So this episode's obviously going to be very short, because the Doctor's probably going to see the mummy within the first 10 minutes, and then it'll only be 66 seconds after that.
So they're kind of...
Now, 66 seconds, is that linear time? Is that subjective time? Like, if you get onto TARDIS and hop, like, 30, like...
Back by a month? Will it still take a month to catch up?
Like, it's 10:11 right now. Is it at... No, sorry, it's 10:12 right now. So, is it 10:13 that would be the time? Like, if I hopped in a TARDIS and went back 5 minutes in time, would I then have 6 minutes?
I don't know. That gets us into the wibbly logic that came in in
Gremlins 2?
no.
They
The
mentioned it in
second part
Gremlins
of
2.
Pandorica Opens.
Oh, World's End?
I don't think
No.
it was
The
World
Big
Yeah.
Bang, you mean?
Big Bang,
Big
Big
Bang,
Bang.
yeah.
World's End?
But no, here's my question. Can we make Moffat see the mummy?
Make his career
Aw.
save at least.
Poor Mr. Moffat.
At least his career. At least
Poor
his
muff on my
career.
foot.
Okay,
So
moving
I'm
on.
kind of wondering if this is going to have anything to do with the mummies that we've seen in Doctor Who previously.
No.
I don't know. We're gonna have to wait.
Probably
and find out.
not, but that would be pretty interesting considering
Would
they
be
were
interesting,
on.
but that's too advanced for Moffat.
Was that? Oh yeah, like the pyramids were on Mars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That was the
Pyramids
name of
of
the.
Mars.
That was the name of the episode, wasn't it? My brain blanked on it.
With Sutek, the last of the Osirans.
I wonder what the Ice Warriors
Kneel
had to say
before
about
the
that.
might of
Bill,
Sutek.
you failed. They probably just stayed away from the damn pyramid.
Yeah.
Don't go near the
All
pyramids
right,
of Mars.
on to
Absolutely
our,
goddamn right.
Next bit, I think we've milked that bit for all it's worth, and a bit
I
bit
think
more.
so.
The episode that I accidentally said that we were talking about today because we were talking about it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some photos from Kill the Moon. I'm not sure if this is stuff from the trailer and stuff we've seen or not, before or
Not
not.
all of the stuff we've seen in the trailer.
It looks a little bit like there's some scenery from the actual episode, and it also looks like a collage of obvious Photoshop
Is
stuff.
that Courtney in the center one?
It might be,
Oh god, he's traveling with a child again.
but you know,
Oh, well,
it's
I think
nice to see
think
the
the
young
episode
suit
we're talking
coming
about today
back.
kind of indicated that
Yep,
would happen.
Courtney Woods. Courtney Woods and Lundvik.
Great.
Ludwig von Beethoven?
Ludwig, that's all he's telling us.
Yeah, you know, the upper left, or excuse me, the upper right photo looks like it was a bit
Photoshopped,
on.
yes.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a spider webs on that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the trailer, it looks a little bit aliensy.
It looks.
I thought it looked at both aliensy and predatory.
Has anybody else seen Apollo 18?
No.
But I've heard of it.
Like if you
I know
haven't
the
seen it,
basic
you probably
premise.
don't get why I would keep making the comparisons to it, but that's still
I
what
know
it
it has
sounds
to
like
do
to
with
me.
yeah. I know it has to. It's a found footage film
Oh, that one,
about
yeah.
a moon landing, and there's a monster on the moon hunting the astronaut. It's like Apollo 13. Yeah.
Well, I'll
It's
talk
like
about that. I'll talk about that more the appropriate week, so I won't go into detail about it
Yeah.
here because we have other things to discuss.
My brain is going back to a Facebook link somebody sent me a while back. It was a commercial for beans, and it showed these astronauts planting a flag on the moon, and this alien proceeds to start attacking them. And they all start fleeing, and the alien's just hunting down and killing each one of them until one's left hiding behind a rock. The alien doesn't know where he is, and then the astronaut farts. And the title of it is Beans, Not for Astronauts.
Wow.
It was fun as hell. I'll have
It's
to send
hilarious.
it later, Matt.
That's one of the funnier things
I
I've ever
think I might have seen at least something similar to that.
If you die after 66 seconds, but you have 2 hearts and you're a Time Lord, do you get double the seconds?
No, we don't know. We will have to wait till the episode. If you keep pondering the rest of this podcast, so help me.
I just stopped in the middle of the podcast, Randy. Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Bill, do you want a shock to the chamois? Not the chamois.
Caretaker.
Anyway,
We've
next
got,
one.
to start with, we've got overnight figures for the Caretaker. which gives us 4.89 million. And it mentions that is almost identical to the previous 2 weeks. So the same people are watching the episodes at the same times, pretty much.
So they're just flipping off the X Factor and watching their.
Oh, and okay. They mentioned that the later time slot has not influenced this. So X Factor isn't really any different of a competition than whatever.
It means that the rating is identical to the weeks, despite the later time slot.
That's what I'm saying. The change in time slot has not really changed this, apparently, right? The previous 2 weeks were not at the later time slot, right? This was the first one.
Right.
So that's what's saying. The change in time slot has not really affected how many people are watching Doctor Who.
Yeah, people predicted that Doctor Who would lose some viewers to the X Factor. It did not happen.
I wonder if the X Factor lost viewers.
I don't know. I don't know how many Doctor Whoers are also X Factorers.
You never know.
Never know.
Strictly Come Dancing beat the X Factor, so I guess people didn't want to change the channel.
Yeah, that's true. The X Factor usually takes the top. But then again, this is the first time that Strictly Come Dancing has been...
What is Strictly Come Dancing?
What?
What is Strictly Come Dancing?
I'm trying to think
if it has... Is it another reality show, or...
As far as I'm aware.
It is another reality show. It is... it's basically a celebrity ballroom dancing contest.
So it's more or less Dancing with the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Actually, Dancing with the Stars...
so John Barrowman should be there.
Yeah, well, Dancing with the Stars is basically the U.S. version of it. Strictly Come Dancing came first, and then Dancing with the Stars was what happened when it was imported over. At least as far as format, anyway.
Doctor Who is 22nd for the week as of these counts. Final ratings will be available next Sunday. And our next bit on the Caretaker. What's up?
I was gonna say, you guys said that John Barrowman, he is actually on there.
Oh, he is.
Wait. No, it's a question.
Oh.
He wins Christmas Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah, he was on the Christmas Strictly Come Dancing at least once.
Wow, he is sparkly.
Would you expect nothing less from Mr. Barrowman?
Yeah, Barrowman was on there 1 year. I'm not sure if he was on there any more than that.
Repeatedly or since, so... I'm sure it's a popular episode in some corners. Just because of him. Next one.
The next bit of news is the Audience Appreciation Index. And we really haven't been varying very much. This time we get an 83. So far this season, we've got some 82s and 84s, so we're pretty much dead set in the middle here. One thing we can say is apparently, at least based on the British general audience, that Doctor Who's been consistent this season.
Yeah.
We haven't had any, our standard deviation is 1.
Yep.
And anyone who's never had to use statistics for anything just completely dropped off the listening.
Me?
Next one.
Yep, now we go on to the Australian overnights.
Yep. And let's see how the Aussies did. It was the second highest rating drama. That's nothing new. And the 10th highest
rating drama, but they're not counting it as that because 2 actually took first equally.
Oh, yes, you're right. So it's the 3rd highest drama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, The Code and Scorpion. I heard good about Scorpion, but I haven't seen it yet.
So that means Doctor Who has dropped because it was 2 for the previous 5 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But we are technically into the second half of the season now. This was the middle episode.
It's a 12-episode season,
Better
isn't
pick
it?
up the pace.
Technically, it's a 13 episode, but 2 of the episodes were made episode 1. When this series is rerun, most likely, Deep Breath is going to be broken up into parts 1 and 2.
But I'm just saying, the way it's airing is a 12-episode season, right? So that would make Kill the Moon number 7 the start of half 2.
Yep.
Of course, if you count the Christmas special as part of it, Kill the Moon would be dead center, but it's technically not part of the season.
Correct.
It's just airing like a month later. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Doctor Who is 10th for overall, which is pretty consistent with what Australia's been doing.
Yeah, it's only slipped once or twice. But
Yeah,
it's always
gone,
also
it's
come
gone,
back.
It's gone between 9 and 12, so it's right in the middle there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all of our Caretaker news. Yes. Time Heist. I think these were the final ratings.
Yep.
Which is strange because I don't think I thought Deep Breath was the only one we got finals for. Unless this is, let's see.
Oh, these aren't the live.
Oh,
plus.
these are the weekly ratings. These are the weekly.
Yep.
Okay. So it's 6.99 million. So again, we've been hovering right among the 7 million viewers mark for the week. So again, very consistent. So unlike the
People
issues
watching are continuing to watch.
yeah,
Mhm.
so unlike the issues we've seen in certain season six,
Yeah.
it's not dropping off a whole bunch of viewers in the middle of the season.
Yeah, that season 6.
I kind of want to go back and look at the series 7 ratings just to see
how quickly they died off.
how those were compared to that. I feel like probably the beginning of each half of the season were probably strong, and then probably dropped and picked up again for the 3 specials. But I have nothing to support that right now.
Yeah, usually you see you see people trail off in the middle and then pick up on the ends. This time it's staying fairly consistent, but I think people are still trying to sound out the new Doctor.
Yeah, it's a combination, I think, of the new Doctor and the companion that isn't yet. I think there's kind of some, waiting to see Danny get on the TARDIS.
Or if he even gets on the TARDIS, or seeing if Clara actually even sticks around anymore after this season.
Yeah, there's enough questions, I guess.
But in that case, they would just skip ahead to the Christmas special.
Not necessarily, because they won't
they're
give them
waiting
all
to
the
see if
answers they
Clara's-
want about it.
If they're waiting to see if Clara is going to leave, they would just watch the Christmas special and see if she's still on the TARDIS at the end of it or not.
Maybe.
Otherwise, they're actually interested in the episodes.
Let's not guarantee. But anyway.
And that's our last Series 8 news. We've got some bit of news on The Mind of Evil is that when Retro TV airs it, it's going to be in color.
That's fine. It was supposed to be in color.
Originally, yes. It's only black and white
yes.
because they originally lost the original color version.
So I'm okay.
So they're just colorizing the negatives, which I believe...
Has this been put out on DVD in color before?
Might have, and I think
so
Babel Color might have been contacted to do it.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, I know the version I saw was in black and white.
I think they recently did it in color, and I think one of the guys I know of that does color stuff for Doctor Who, the black and white episodes, might have actually got contacted to do it because he suddenly went really quiet lately.
Yeah. See, this actually came across to me as more important than it was because I mixed up my X of Y's and was thinking they were saying Web of Fear. Like, Mind of Evil meant Web of Fear in my head when I was wrong.
No, this is important because episode 1 of this had to actually be colorized.
Yeah.
They could not find a color print of it. But they did find color recovered episodes of 2 to 6 and used those to color match for episode 1.
So this will be the first time it's aired on television in color in the past 30 some odd years.
Correct.
Actually, yeah, 30. Actually, I think closer to
They
40.
they say the late 70s, so 35
Late
to
70s,
between
so
35 and 40 years.
yeah, 35 and 40.
Yeah. And again, this was actually
whereas it
lost
first aired,
after the great.
aired about 44 years ago.
One at a time, please.
The color print of the Mind of Evil was actually lost after the great incident that lost us all of the first and second Doctor stories that have been lost to time at this point. This one was actually lost by a snafu, so I think it disappeared in shipping or something like that.
Ah.
Bum bum bum.
And then we've got some miscellaneous news. First is that there is some Doctor Who or some BBC television center memorabilia up for auction. Wasn't able to find a whole lot of info, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this one either.
Okay.
The link doesn't. The link seems to need some looking into to find what information you're looking for.
Probably.
Okay. What this seems to be is the fact that the BBC Television Center is selling and making an online auction to sell off some of their promotional material they used at the BBC Television Center that was used during the 11th Doctor era.
So essentially, like any really big posters or adverts or anything like that, big art essentially is what they're selling off. So it would be an interesting item for fans.
So is the BBC Television Center a production thing, or is it a tourism thing? What?
No, it's their key broadcasting center.
It's their main office building.
Oh, okay.
It was.
So it's essentially the executive headquarters of BBC.
It was the executive headquarters. The executive headquarters has moved to new buildings, and the future of the BBC Television Center was unknown, but they have decided to keep it as in some operations.
Yeah, they use it for occasional operations here and there, and also it tends to be used for various meetings and so forth.
It was where Doctor Who was filmed in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay,
so it is also a studio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of space
that
there.
was. If you remember, if you've ever seen the behind the scenes of Silver Nemesis, the reason that they had such an advanced shooting time for that was because the BBC Television Center was in the middle of asbestos removal at that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they got a huge go-ahead to go, yeah, you take that outside. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, go do the location shoot.
Yeah, here's an extra camera for that. You might want to keep away for a while. Why are you wearing that mask? No reason.
Okay, so what's happening now is that BBC Worldwide, BBC Post, and a few other minor BBC studios are actually going to be leasing space in the old television center. And Studio One will be available for hire as production facilities. So it's basically going to be a private studio now that the BBC can lease if they need extra space. The thing is, the BBC just built a huge new building that they've moved to. So we'll see how much this winds up getting used. Of course, it might also be getting used by other people.
Oh yeah, it might also get used by other movie studios and other small-time television people that'll need the space to rent and so forth. Wouldn't it be funny if Red Dwarf gets
Could you imagine if Red Dwarf started getting filmed in there?
I was just saying that. I was just saying, I wonder if Red Dwarf will end up getting filmed in there. Should have enough space.
Well, the thing is, it wouldn't have been the first time, because those were probably the studios where Red Dwarf was originally filmed in during the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Our next bit of miscellaneous news is character options has released a group of new Doctor Who micro figures.
Character options being the company, of course.
Yes.
Who look out for? Clara?
Apparently, each of these are going to be very rare, and there are 100 copies or less of each.
Between
if
50
I'm
and
understanding
100,
this
yes.
properly.
So 100 copies of Clara, 75 copies of the 11th Doctor with handles, 75 copies of the 11th Doctor. As you've seen in the episode Crimson Horror, that would be the red face in the background there.
And then
50 wooden cybers. Yep.
And 50 of Captain Jack. Why the hell is Captain Jack?
Yeah.
Do we really need to ask why? You just know
Captain
you want
Jack
it.
Captain Jack is the only thing from pre-Series 7 popular enough to be in this category.
I'm like looking at this going, one of these things is not like the others.
One of these things is not Moffat at all.
Yeah, it's like...
he is Moffat, but...
I'm looking at all of this going, okay, so 3 of them are from Time of the Doctor. 1 of them is from the Crimson Horror. And all of them I don't care about. And we have Captain Jack Harkness.
I'd still buy a wooden Cyberman.
Since 2009, and I don't care about.
I think Miracle Day was 2010.
What's that?
I think Miracle Day might have been... Yeah, Miracle Day was 2010.
I meant in Doctor Who.
Ah.
In Doctor Who itself, yeah, I can't remember. It was around 2009 at the latest, I'm sure.
It was, because the last we saw him was...
Actually, it might have gone into 2011 as well, because I remember hearing that Miracle Day kept him unable to appear in A Good Man Goes to War.
Mm. I think not, because I thought Miracle Day had already happened by then.
Yeah, Miracle Day would have happened already by that point.
The filming schedules might have overlapped a bit, I don't know.
I'm not sure about that. I'd have my doubts on that, but I would have to actually look up dates and stuff, and that's going to take forever. Anywho, I take it we're done with this then? That
is the last of our news, and now Ron has something he'd like to discuss. So we were talking a bit about, we're talking about the podcast after we wrapped up last week, comparing the ratings to what we were looking at, or what we had talked about the previous 4 weeks.
Yeah, if you guys remember, you had all given the rating of Time Heist, Robot of Sherwood, Into the Dalek, Deep Breath, and Listen. And I said that you guys were dead wrong. So
Aaron gave a different group, but or a different ordering.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and I took a look at our ratings, and I discovered I was right.
By averages.
Yes, by averages. By averaging the ratings that we had gotten, and I even modified the ratings so that it only counted the 5 of us, because the 5 of us were the only ones dealing with this. The order of it went: Time Heist with 4.8, Into the Dalek with 3.8, Robot of Sherwood with 3.71, Deep Breath with 3, and Listen with 2.4. That list sounds familiar. Oh, wait, that's my list.
I should note that my list was consistent across all 5 weeks. I didn't average it out to come up with my final, but I did indeed rank Listen the lowest during the episode, Deep Breath the second lowest, Into the Dalek the third lowest, Robot, and then Time Heist on top.
So you just looked at your individual votes?
In terms of the scores I had given them, with the information
in terms
you were
of what
looking
he
at,
scored them on the episodes, he was still right in his own listing.
I think if you were to take the 5 scores I gave and put them in order from highest to lowest, it does match the actual final rankings I gave in that order.
Now somebody has changed their scores.
Yeah. Whereas two people here each gave 2 episodes the same rating as one another, which kind of doesn't give everything a neat categorical rating because two of them, I think they gave 2 4s, was it? That was
Yeah.
Matt and Aaron, I believe. Yes,
So
definitely.
it's Tim. Tim changed his votes.
Did I? I can't keep
Yes.
track
Was
of
it?
what I do from one week to the next.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
believe it
say I
was
really don't care.
I believe it was Dalek and Sherwood that you switched after the fact.
Oh.
Does it really totally matter though?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does this have to do with like the episode we're supposed to be looking at now?
Well, we're not there yet. We were just looking at our overall
like-
rankings and interesting facts.
I like Sherwood better than in the Dalek. If
Yet
that makes
at the same
difference.
time, you rated Into the Dalek higher than you rated Sherwood.
Apparently,
Did I?
you didn't feel that way the week we reviewed Robot of Sherwood.
I don't know. It also could have been the fact that we were really complaining about how that ended at that point.
And he might have just decided to swing low because of the many nitpicks we did have for it.
That's really all I wanted to point out was the fact that that was the actual ratings versus what we had said.
That is an
forget-
interesting thing.
I don't remember if we had mentioned during the actual podcast that the average between the 5 of us did end up equaling the more common ranking of Time Heist, Robot, Into the Dalek, Deep Breath, Listen. Maybe we did. I'm not sure. But
I think we did.
yeah,
Anywho.
that's about it on that little bit of factoids.
Factoids are
And
nice.
now on to our feature presentation.
Okay. Anyone before I start this, does anybody want to do the summary? Anybody?
No hands are raising.
Going?
I was going to put something together, but then I got busy with the news and
Yeah, I got stuff half put together. So I will then proceed to start the summary.
Yay!
What? Oh, sorry. We begin the episode with a montage of Clara trying to balance her life traveling with the Doctor and her relationship with Danny. We see her explain away being sunburned, being extremely wet, and then going for a run with Danny just after spending the day running down corridors. By the end, she's very exhausted, weary, saying to herself she can't do it, but then she talks herself into believing that she can and soldiers on. The next day, she shows up in the TARDIS, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. The Doctor, after exchanging some unusually pleasant commentary, informs Clara that he will not be able to do anything with her that day. Clara asks why, and the Doctor informs her that he has to go under deep cover. Clara doubts this, but the Doctor manages to talk her into leaving for the day and going about her normal life. Clara proceeds to do so, but only after letting the Doctor know that she's watching him. And the Doctor turns, and we see that he is receiving a signal from East London. Clara arrives at school, and after saying hello to a couple of the schoolgirls who giggle, she then proceeds to attend the morning staff meeting of all the teachers. The headmaster, as a final note, mentions that the school caretaker is ill, and they will have a replacement. The replacement then proceeds to arrive, as the caretaker, or as the headmaster announces him as Mr. Smith. It is, in fact, the Doctor, who calls himself John Smith, but everyone calls him the Doctor, and as he does so, he winks at Clara. This puts Danny a little bit on edge, as he seems to note that something's going on, so right after the meeting, he tries to convince Clara to tell him what's going on and if she knows this man. Clara then immediately lies and tells Danny she has never seen him before in her life, and then immediately proceeds to run down and confront the Doctor about being there, and that the fact that deep cover does not mean you change your coat. The Doctor talks her into basically going about, brushes off most of her comments, She accuses him of not being able to blend in, and the doctor says he should be able to blend in fine after spending time living with otters, completely ignoring the fact that he had spent several years on Earth and had recently, as a couple seasons ago, lived a few weeks as a lodger. Well, memories change. The doctor bows out, having to go do custodian stuff, and Clara then proceeds to go to class. As this is going on, we cut to outside school where we see a policeman approaching a couple of students who are fooling around with a video game in the streets. He convinces them rather forcibly to go to school and then sees that they were hanging by an open gate. Suspecting that there are more Asbos inside, the policeman goes in and investigates.
Well, also he heard noises. I would add in.
However, it's not juvenile delinquents. It is instead a killer robot who more or less burns him to a crisp. Back at school, Clara's teaching class when the class is interrupted by the doctor at the window on the second floor.
He has a ladder. He's not flying or floating.
Clara begs the class to go on, confronts the doctor for being there, who tells her that what she's teaching is wrong. He's actually right, but she fails to believe this method and argues the fact that he must know because he met her and they went off traveling together and all this, and the doctor's like, no, I read the bio in the book. Clara introduces him to the class and tries to finish it, but she's essentially saved by the bell. She then proceeds to go off to basically hunt down the doctor. She finds him attending a electrical box in the presence of the headmaster. By the time she gets there, after running into 2-3 other people that basically beg her to do this, that, and she's not really paying attention, Danny has also arrived on the scene. The headmaster has introduced Danny to the doctor, mentioning the fact that Danny was a soldier. The doctor then proceeds to automatically assume Danny's the PE teacher and refuses to believe that Danny is in fact the maths teacher. This is ended rather abruptly by Clara stopping the scene. The doctor finishes his electrical work and places the device inside the box. There's then a montage of various caretakings going on, with the doctor placing these devices. And, boy, I'm actually losing. I just saw this episode and I'm losing it.
Need some help?
Eventually, I think we get into the doctor's caretaker office, whatever you want to call it, storage locker, where we run into our regular juvenile delinquent. What was her name?
Courtney Woods.
Courtney Woods, coming in asking for some paper towels.
Destructive influence.
Mm-hmm. The doctor had been working on something inside the TARDIS that had been involving a flashing green light. When Courtney walked in, the doctor tries to sideline her from asking what the box is, saying it's a caretaker's box, they all have them, and that there's a policeman inside with a death ray. Courtney does not buy this and introduces herself to the doctor as disturbing influence, I believe? Disruptive influence.
Disruptive.
Either way, the doctor shakes her hand, sends her on the way. As Clara comes in, Courtney says hello to Clara and laughs.
She makes some sort of side comment. I never keep catching it.
Mrs. Squatty, I think. Or Mrs. Love Squatty or something like that. The whole thing comes down to what we've been seeing in the caretakering, which is Ozzy loves the Squatty, which is, of course, Clara Oswald loves Danny Pink. Either way, Clara then blames the doctor for endangering the entire school with this whole alien thing and not telling her what's going on. The doctor then proceeds to show her an image of what he's dealing with. The Scovox blaster, which is basically what looks to be a cross between a tank and a scorpion with guns, I guess would be the best way to describe it. It has essentially 4 legs. Looks actually kind of like a robotic Mojo, if you know the Marvel-verse. Anyway, only more dangerous. He describes it as being one of the most dangerous creatures in the universe, which is the first time we've heard this line since the 5 Doctors. Anyway, Clara says he's still endangering the school when he is involving it here and attempting to lure it to this location. The Doctor then proceeds to explain his master plan to Clara, involving an invisibility watch and luring it into the auditorium where he will send it away. Clara doesn't like this particular thing, and the Doctor says he doesn't need her help with it, and basically pushes her, says, go away. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention is earlier on with the box scene, the Doctor had asked Clara about her boyfriend, where he's shortly run into by one of the other school staff, the drama teacher, I think, who the Doctor then mistakes as being her boyfriend. He also looks vaguely like Matt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And dresses like him.
And dresses like him and has vaguely a similar style of hair.
Has the chin, too.
And a little bit of the chin, yes.
Anyway, so he assumes that that's Clara's boyfriend, and when Clara is confronting him about this alien, he tells her to go canoodle with her boyfriend, apparently giving her his blessing. Clara proceeds to leave the TARDIS and bumps into Danny, and both of them are basically trying to make excuses on why they can't see each other that particular night, even though they had dinner planned. They both push it off to tomorrow night. But Clara does tell him that the custodian did say good things about him. But this doesn't put Danny off, as he's very suspicious of the Doctor, and finds one of the little devices the Doctor's been hiding all over the place. Just meanwhile, as the Doctor has embarked on this plan to lure the thing back into the auditorium. He does, but the devices he had set up start flashing red because one of them has been moved. Danny abruptly walks in to confront the Doctor, is nearly blasted to death, manages to duck out of the way, and drops the device he was holding. Suddenly, all the devices flash green, and the blaster's sucked away into nothing. The Doctor gets all pissy, yells at him for fooling around with his technology. Clara tries to say, but it's gone, and the Doctor says, yeah, for 3 days. As this arguing's going on between him and the PE teacher, as he still continues to call him, Clara asks him to stop and reveals the fact that Danny is her boyfriend. And this kind of throws the Doctor for a pause. And again, he gets a little pissy and basically stalks off to go deal with this, and says that while he may have explained the Doctor to Danny, which she had just done, she hasn't explained him to the Doctor. Clara and Danny have a big heart-to-heart where she tries to reason out all of this, but Danny can't reconcile the Clara that's with the Doctor and the Clara that's at school, so Clara comes up with a scheme. Using the invisibility watch that the Doctor used in this last caper, she hides Danny and goes into the TARDIS to try to talk to the Doctor. However, the Doctor pretty soon sees through this, acts like he's going to take off, and Danny reveals himself. When Danny hears the Doctor refer to himself as a Time Lord, he gets all uppity and begins acting soldiery to the Doctor, who banishes him from the TARDIS and begins to act officery in a way because of Danny's actions. And Danny says, now you're seeing his true self, and leaves. This, Clara walks out and reminds Danny that tonight they have the parents' night, parent-teacher conferences. And guess who's first on the list? Courtney, who has snuck once again into the storage room and has found the Doctor in his fit of pique after they've left, and the Doctor reveals that yes, it's a time machine that can travel through space, and she wants to take a ride. He says maybe later. Things are not going well, however, as 3 days has apparently become 1, and the creature comes through. The doctor, realizing that this has happened, quickly tries to finish his device, has Clara using the screwdriver to send off Artron signals to lure the monster away, acting as bait, which Danny calls him out on, but the doctor waves it off. Finally, things come to a head as the doctor is trying to use his new device, which basically makes the blaster think that it's superior. The doctor tries to convince it to shut down, but he forgets to enter the final code, and the thing decides to self-destruct as well instead. This would probably take out the school and possibly all of London. But Danny comes in at the last minute, distracts the thing, and it tries to vaporize him while he does a rather impressive flip over the Scorvox blaster, and the doctor manages to enter the final code, which causes the thing to shut down. The doctor and Danny seem to come to a semi-hostile understanding of each other. Danny seems to have passed some minor trial by doing this, and they all go their separate ways. Shortly thereafter, we see the doctor sending the blaster into space in the presence of young Courtney, who promptly throws up.
There's a spillage.
Then, we see the cop again describing what happened to a man sitting at a desk. The man listens to him, says, "Scorvox Blaster, we've had a few of those in recently, so you're not alone." And the man realizes he doesn't remember how he got there or where he is. The man promptly tells him that he didn't actually survive the Scorvox Blaster, and this is the afterlife, the promised land, though he prefers the term the nether sphere. We then see our favorite psychotic Mary Poppins as she turns, kind of gives them a glare, and stalks off. And the man says that she's been rather busy of late. End of the episode. So, what do we want to talk about first?
I get the feeling that some of you have a lot of ire towards it, whereas I can only get up a meh.
That's more or less my issues with it, except for one thing that really bothers me. And that is the fact that during the course of this episode, the doctor shows himself to be very close-minded towards the military and soldiers. And
although, to be fair, that's a 12th Doctor thing, not a this episode thing.
Yes, I know. But, you know, the dislike of soldiers is a Doctor thing and a 12th Doctor thing. Close-minded is a little bit different. And that is the fact that my issue with this is the fact that if you remember the dislike of soldiers over the course of the many Doctors we've had, his issues with soldiers is the fact that they tend to be close-minded.
And now he's being exactly what he blames them for being.
It's another case. I believe the last time we brought this up was when we covered the 2 Doctors, is the Doctors being a hypocrite.
Which does not happen often, but it seems to be happening.
Hypocrisy is that the reason we don't like things is because they reveal our own flaws.
And the Doctor in recent years has been noticing the flaw that he seems to keep making his past companions into soldiers without intending to do so.
Yeah, that was brought up a little bit, I believe, during Journey's End.
In particular, yes.
Yes.
Was one of the main instances.
The Children
they
of
brought that
Time, as they were called.
As they are dubbed by Davros, yes.
Actually, I think they were dubbed that by Dalek Khan, and then reused by Davros.
That sounds about right.
Maybe.
Because I feel like they both used the term.
Yeah, I think Khan, though, used it first. Although, albeit in the statement's defense, Khan could have got it by foreseeing Davros using it.
Mm-hmm.
kind of fucked up when you're dealing with Dalek Khan, who's insane and has visions of what will be.
Yep.
But it's still
what happens when you have a malfunctioning time travel device that also controls your memories.
I have that one issue with it, and my other issue is the description of the Skovox blaster, which was taken almost verbatim from the Third Doctor's description of the Rastan Warrior robot from the Five Doctors. Which really wants me to have an episode of Robot Wars where you have the Rastan Warrior robot versus the Skovox blaster.
I think it's more just, the Doctor tends to, pull a Scotty. He automatically overestimates how dangerous everything is, so that when he beats it, it's more impressive.
I still want to see a Robot Wars with these two.
I would see where that could possibly be an interesting fight, yes.
Winner? Sir Kill-A-Lot, probably.
Because in one corner we have a robot that teleports and uses these super powerful harpoon-like weapons. In the other corner we have something that could possibly track that robot and still put up a fight. And not die instantly.
3, 2, 1, fight.
Does this mean...
I find it interesting that once he was able to convince it that he was the commanding officer, he was referring to it as Artificer. So that to me sounds more like an engineer robot than a death machine.
Yet he still thinks it's one of the most dangerous creatures.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if he's speaking of, I'm trying to remember what was good, but basically, he's basically saying this is a dangerous species in general, whereas this might not be one of the most dangerous examples of one of them, but still pretty dangerous.
Still, want to see it in the Rastan Warrior robot, duke it out in an arena.
Hosted by Lister.
Yes. Craig Charles, who did Lister, was the host of the UK version of Robot Wars, whereas the US version had Mick Foley, a.k.a. Mankind from the WWE.
I've seen both, and as far as I'm concerned, both were good.
Yeah, they were. I watched either equally. I still miss that show. Although, you know who the first host of Robot Wars was in the UK? Jeremy Clarkson.
Really?
Only the first season.
Who's Jeremy Clarkson?
He is the host of Top Gear.
Oh.
He's one of the 3 hosts.
Yeah, he's the main host. And the one who might get fired if he doesn't keep his mouth shut.
Oh, Leadfoot's flapping his lips?
He's had a few racially insensitive comments over the years, and the BBC has basically told him one more and he's out.
Ooh. Yeah, that's not good publicity, Clarkson. That's not something you should be doing. We don't care how old you are. You should know better.
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, he's not Doctor Who. So
yeah.
He's interviewed him for reasonably our star in a reasonably priced car.
To which Rose still wins only because of Shirt in the Rain.
Because Billy Piper wore a see-through top, yes.
Wait, what happened?
The story goes is that back in 2006, both Billy Piper and David Tennant were on Top Gear for their segment Star in a Reasonably Priced Car, which is they take a star, they interview them, and then they show a lap that they've done in their reasonably priced car around the Top Gear track, and they keep this running score of who has the best time. And Billy Piper did a fairly decent time, but she was off the track. And that's usually points off. But, according to Clarkson, she was wearing a see-through top. And thus, when she kind of pouted and gave her her pouty expression, Clarkson didn't actually give her the 5-second penalty. When Tennant went on about 3 weeks later, he also did the track, and he did it exactly 4 seconds slower than Billy Piper.
Was he also wearing a see-through top?
No.
No, though that was actually a comment made on the show, was that Tennant said, so if I was wearing something along the lines of, and Clarkson's like, no, but maybe if you were getting hosted by James May, who's one of the other presenters. Either way, it's been a running line of contention. It's been brought up a few times in other interviews, and Tennant's still a little bitter about that. I think Catherine Tate brought it up with him on Nevermind the Bug.
I think so too, yeah.
And he goes on a rant about it for like 5 seconds before getting back to the show.
Yeah, he was a wee bit miffed.
Yeah,
because one of his co-stars beat him by a couple seconds because she had a white shirt on in the rain.
On the Graham Norton show, or both.
Or both, yeah, most likely both.
But anyway, back to the episode. Yeah, I agree that this episode, with Matt, that this episode's a lot of meh. It's an episode.
The problem is, the meh things about the episode are, at least to me, it seems they're the ones that the episode are built on. The things that should be the strong things about it, and that it kind of hinges on.
And I agree that is a flaw, but that still just leaves it overall meh.
Like, the episode is primarily a romance, and the romance is a large part of the meh.
Yeah, it is. There's not a lot of chemistry that we've seen between Clara and Danny.
All we've seen is them constantly fighting, to be honest.
And Clara and Danny is still coming off to me as the Mickey.
Yes, he is. He's still coming off as the Mickey. He's coming off as the Mickey that can do backflips.
I think Mickey and Rose had more chemistry.
Actually, yeah.
When Rose was
just talking in general. I'm talking. Danny Pink reminds me of what if Mickey Smith had done a tour in Afghanistan. Really, that's what he seems to be to me, because he's almost the same personality, only with a bit of a soldier background to him.
Which is why he has half a spine.
Yeah. But even his reaction when discovering that there's aliens afoot is very reminiscent of Mickey. Not quite as extreme, mind you, but again, half a spine versus none.
Yeah.
If we're gonna, you mentioned his soldierness, so I have to mention the whole running thing throughout the episode is the Doctor apparently not believing a soldier can be smart enough to be a math teacher, or at least wouldn't be a math teacher and would be a gym teacher instead. So the way that he placates the Doctor is by performing a feat of athleticism.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you a good moral of the story.
No, it doesn't.
Someone really should have rewritten that entire scene.
If not rewrite that entire scene, they should have came up with better dialogue for the Doctor to throw at him.
Well, I mean the scene, like the climax. Actually have Danny do something that the Doctor would actually respect, rather than jumping over a robot.
Yeah, and it hits me as they're really pushing this too far, which is a Moffat trait, albeit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I was Danny Pink at this situation, I would have sat down, looked the Doctor in the eyes, and said, look, yes, I was a soldier. I did tours. I didn't like it. I came back, and I'm trying to start my life over without the soldierness, and people keep bringing it up.
Or hell, if he was going to have, I think someone mentioned that, I think Aaron mentioned maybe, that his whole thing with the wells was kind of overblown in, was it Listen? Probably, it must have been Listen, I think, the wells thing. This would have been a good episode for that rant.
Yes. But either way, saying something that would have said that, no, he's not a soldier in the traditional, yes, sir, 5 rounds rapid, sir, rather than his action upon discovering the Doctor is to immediately start acting like it. You know who he reminded of when he was acting like that? The son from the Family of Blood when he was confronting the headmaster of the school.
Yep.
And it sat like that. It's like, that wouldn't be a good analogy for the Doctor.
That brings up
The
bad
interesting
memories.
thing. Well, I mean, granted, this Doctor never met them, but both Ian, Wilf, and I think a few other companions, not counting the unit people, were ex-soldiers.
There were a few, and I mean, there were a few that had been active soldiers. Albeit, I think they were only brief companions in the first Doctor era, before the massive hatred of soldiers was, integral to the character. Because Steven Tyler, who was there for an episode, I think.
The lead singer Aerosmith was there for an episode?
There was a Steven Tyler before there was Steven Tyler.
Oh, okay.
I think he was part of the Space Navy. I
think so, because he was a prisoner of the what's-it-ma-fucking sphere guys.
The Mechanoids?
There you go. I'm not names.
That's my job. But Sarah Kingdom, I think, was also a military person. Her companionness is debatable.
Her companionness is debatable, but she did travel in the TARDIS, which is key point number 1. And key point number 2 is that she was on there for more than one episode. She was on there for that entire story.
I think Ben was part of the British Navy.
Yeah, that's true.
Jamie,
I think
Jamie we discussed as being a conscript.
Probably a kind of a draftee, but
a draftee more or less, yeah.
He was a Highlander first and a soldier second.
He was an immortal.
And then we get, of course, to the unit guys.
And that's where his hate of soldiers kind of starts to weed out, come up a little bit more, I think.
Although I will consider Harry Sullivan separate from the unit people because he was a full-fledged companion.
Harry Sullivan, yeah, for his temporary stilt on the show.
Yeah, but he was a member of unit that then became a companion.
Yes. No, I'm just counting it separate from the unit guys because none of the unit guys were true companions. Even the Brigadier never traveled with the Doctor in the TARDIS.
Unless you count the three doctors or Big Finish.
Yeah, but I'm not counting Big Finish, and the Three Doctors was basically him going. It was him going home, I think, or the trip to the antimatter universe. Either way.
Still, if the Brigadier could hear the way he was talking about soldiers, I think he'd bitch slap him.
This
I
Doctor,
think so.
yeah.
But at the same time, after that, Leela was a warrior, not really a soldier. Adric, Nyssa, Tegan, Turlo. Yeah, he didn't have any major soldier characters after that. So Harry was kind of the last one.
And he was actually more of a field medic than he was an actual soldier.
But
you do have to go through training.
I guess a temporal cop would be different from a soldier.
Yep.
Captain Jack, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering where he would place. He's a time agent, so...
So, yeah, essentially cop. Except
Wasn't Don Noble's dad a soldier? Or a
Will?
soldier?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Wilf.
We hadn't gotten
Wilf
to
was
Wilf
an
yet.
ex-soldier, yeah.
We were up to series 1.
Mm.
And then
There's also the 8th Doctor.
Martha wasn't.
Rose obviously
Donna wasn't. But Wilf was. But he was an old soldier and hadn't been for years.
He kind of became more of a stargazer than anything.
Yeah. And then we got to, technically speaking, Rory was a soldier at one point when he was a Centurion.
And he still has a lot of that in his head.
Yeah, but that was after 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 being a companion. He wasn't.
I'm just
before.
noting that it's technically true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to count people that became soldiers after becoming companions, we have to count Martha because she joined UNIT and then came back on the TARDIS.
Well, no, my thing is, though, that Rory was a companion, died, became a soldier, and then became a companion again.
With all the soldier stuff still in his head.
Yes.
So technically he was still a trained soldier on the actual TARDIS.
Mm-hmm. So there's been several cases
Martha traveled on the TARDIS while being a trained member of UNIT.
But in one-shots only.
Yeah.
In only one episode.
Yeah, that was Journey's End.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm referring to. I always forget the name. Oh no, I don't forget the name of the episode. The Doctor's Daughter.
Oh, there's also that one too.
Oh yeah. I kind of forget about that episode, really. I remember the Doctor's Daughter part of it, but I kind of forget Martha Jones
treat it as a three. I kind of treat it as the off-world part of a three-parter stuck on at the end of the Centauran stratagem.
Mm.
More or less.
Which it really isn't, but because they're the 3 Martha episodes in a row, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I keep forgetting she was a part of that one. She's like she's part of the other half of it, but
her part of it was really not that important.
She gets separated from the Doctor and Donna.
Yeah, that episode could have been written completely without her there.
Yeah, I forgot that she was. Well, I remembered she was in there with the fish people, but then I was like, wait, wasn't Donna the companion then?
Yep. And Donna was with the Doctor the entire time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That episode could have been written without Martha being there.
Mm-hmm.
They could have easily left her on Earth and nothing would have been changed.
Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, they signed her for 3 episodes, so there they went.
5 episodes, I think. Was it 5?
What's
she
that?
was in. She was in both parts of the ending. Yeah, she was. Was she in Stolen Earth or only Journey's End?
I think she was in those two as well. Yeah, for the season there's 5.
They all were
so she was in 5
Earth.
episodes that season. And I think Billie Piper might have appeared in 5 episodes, just not steadily.
She did barely walk on cameos until the last 2 episodes.
Last 3.
Oh, last 3, yeah. I keep forgetting that she was on that too.
Yeah, she cameoed in probably about half the series. Because there were just moments where it would just be her that you'd see for about 5 seconds, maybe with one line, or just a picture on a screen or something.
I said walk-ons. It also really don't really count
really
so much.
Quick cameos.
And turn left.
Yeah, which was why I said 3 was turn left, and then the final 2.
Yeah. Ooh.
I forget how we got on this. Oh, we were talking about soldiers.
So the Doctor, but for whatever reason, the Doctor has this. The 12th Doctor has this really hard edge towards soldiers. Makes me wonder if something happened in Time of the Doctor that we are not aware of. Something that would have made him even more bitter towards the military.
Maybe in between Deep Breath and Into the Dalek, he went for a stint with William Wallace as his companion.
I don't think so, Bill.
But the left Doctor running over the hills of Ireland with blue makeup on his face.
Somewhere, something has instilled in him this great hatred. Whereas before it was an annoyance, now it's an outright hatred of the military. And something had to trigger it, and I would really like to know what. And it can't be freaking Clara going back in time and putting Dan the Soldier Man action figure with the youthful Doctor, because if that's where they're going with this, no.
If that's where they're going with this, fuck this season.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty bad. It's going to be pretty bad. So, no, but still, with all this, Danny's coming off to me with his reactions being more or less Mickey. Though he's having his zero to hero moment. It's like basically the entire evolution of Mickey Smith in one episode.
Because it's also the most time we've actually got to use him, and
Mickey,
we don't use
Mickey
it for
eventually
character, we
became
use it just for
interesting
events.
and enjoyable to watch.
Okay, so maybe not the entire evolution of Mickey, because I'm still not really that thrilled with Danny.
No, I am not thrilled with him. They have done pretty much jack all with him so far.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm not clamoring to see him leave the Earth on the TARDIS for the first time, because as far as I can tell, he would just stand there and argue with Clara and argue with the Doctor and not do anything.
Pretty much, because that's all he's ever been doing.
Maybe he'll dig a well.
Yeah, there's not too much, and I'm not fond of Courtney either.
Not so
I like
far.
her.
She's
All we've seen is 3 scenes with her.
yeah, and she's being a smart-ass kid at school, and who wasn't a smart-ass kid at school?
Courtney is someone I think that will... The interplay between her and the Doctor would be enjoyable if they have that type of dialogue scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that might help save
the main
it.
appeal of her is I would like to see her and the Doctor in a high-stress situation.
I don't know.
I actually like the banter between the two of them when he was in the TARDIS and he hands her the paper towels. Or he tries to, anyway.
I also like the little bit where she pukes.
Anyone think it's interesting that the people with recurring character powers are the ones that notice all the weird shit the Doctor's up to, and nobody else notices anything because they don't have recurring character powers?
Yeah.
Or they've just completely and totally failed their perception checks. Like everybody in the universe, everybody in the Doctor Who universe has like a perception of like 3. And, you know, all the Doctor Who companions have it of like 10 or 15.
That's because they're not NPCs.
I've actually not used perception as my dump stat.
I like being able to walk around and not hit my face on a pole, thank you.
I don't have a dump stat.
Smack.
Yeah, yes, we're
Oh
talking.
no, I was just thinking of something.
What the hell are they talking about?
No, I was just thinking about something. I was trying to remember if it was Doctor Who or not, but it was real life. Because I was thinking about people that I've known that must have had like a wisdom score of -6 and 0 ranks in perception because their ability to perceive was that poor. But that was real life. It wasn't Doctor Who.
So we won't bring up names.
Hey, it's
No.
Chris and I used to mention all the time between ourselves. Into 16, wisdom of 5.
Lost in a room.
Into 16 is a +3 bonus. Wisdom of 5 is like a -3 bonus, or worse.
So how's the orc doing today? I like mutton. That's
Oh, no, like
darling.
I said, int is high. It's just wisdom low, aka common sense.
Yeah. Well, although I'm not a fan of the fact that common sense and perception are, at least in D&D based things, wrapped up into one attribute.
It really depends on the version of D&D. I will say that.
By the way, I hear the new version's good, but that's a step aside.
I'm not even talking about that. But 2nd edition D&D, they used to have an extended stat system where those were actually where your wisdom score was actually broken up.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
And-
so basically 3rd edition is, or the 3rd edition and its offspring are what I'm looking at then.
Yeah, probably. Mind you, that second edition rule was an optional rule. It was a player's option. It was
Gotcha.
one we used all the time because we loved it, but yeah.
Because it meant you actually had a half a chance of spotting something.
Hmm. Well, that, and I mean, there are plenty of times where you'll see like a wise character who is blind or just, doesn't pay attention to their surroundings, etc.
Just as often as you would see a smart person miss the obvious thing in front of them that they should have been grabbing for.
Yeah. Well, mind you, there's also some optional rules in some of them where you can have flaws that will actually say we'll give you penalties for certain checks. But either way, yeah, there's all the NPCs, if you will, in the Doctor Who universe seem to have remarkably low stats, even for NPCs. But part of it might be blanket perception filter from the TARDIS.
Or maybe they just need a bit of time radiation to help their brains develop.
Sorry, my brain's going sideways on that, and I'm trying not to comment. You really am. That's right, Doctor. Recreate the Time Lord race. Just add vortex radiation to the Earth. You'll have a Time Lord boom.
Isn't that what happened in the movie? And it did not go well.
The movie? You mean the
Yeah.
90s movie?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't what he was trying to do. He was just going to blow up the planet so that he could get the Doctor's
No, but
body.
he added Time Lord radiation to the Earth.
No,
That's not the vortex. That was the Eye of Harmony affecting things.
Yeah, that was basically the Earth about to get becoming 0.0 for a black hole, which would have been emanating from the TARDIS. I'm talking about vortex radiation. That stuff that apparently, if you do the naughty in the presence of, will turn your kid into a Time Lord.
Or at least the huge stepping stone towards making a Time Lord, which is still ridiculous. Because if all the other races knew that, they'd be fapping away.
And by the way, you caught the River Song reference in this episode?
Was there one?
I remember something, but I'm trying to remember what it was.
It was.
Oh yeah, he mentioned her. He mentioned a fight with her.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He says when he spent time as otters, he said it was because River and him had this huge fight, and I'm like, ugh. God, Moffat, let her go.
I could picture the 11th Doctor moping, like, in a river. While River, like, oh, wow, I did not even... That was no pun intended. No pun remotely intended.
Sometimes serendipity is just...
So the Doctor was singing in a river. Oh, that could be so construed wrong. Oh, God, I hate River Song. I hate her so much.
Just had an idea.
She can die.
The actress who plays River Song and Matt Smith dancing on Strictly Come Dancing.
No. You go to hell. You go to hell and die. Okay.
Speaking of references, at this point, with all the Coal Hill School, I swear William Russell had better show up in the finale or something.
Seriously, yeah.
Just like walk onto the screen, say hi, and leave.
Because according to the Sarah Jane Adventures, Ede and Barbara haven't aged. And trust me, William Russell has.
They haven't?
That's why he can play the first Doctor.
Yeah, there was an episode. It was the one where Matt Smith actually showed up in the Sarah Jane Adventures. It's on YouTube if you want to look it up. The Death of the Doctor. It's also going to be on the Matt Smith big box set, by the way.
That reminds me, I've seen photos of Capaldi and Katie Manning I think it was in the TARDIS set. So I'm kind of wondering if like she just stopped by the set one day, or if they were actually filming something. Maybe
And if
Children
so,
of
does
Need
that mean that
special
we're
or
going to
something.
see some Joe Grant? Or is it Joe Smith? Or is it Joe Jones now?
It would be Jones, but I don't know what she went by in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Jones.
So if she's still married, then yeah.
Yeah. Last we heard, her husband was out with Greenpeace. Because that's apparently her whole family are like liberal environmental activists.
Which is why she fell for the guy in the first place.
But, I mean, they're all of them that way. She winds up dealing with her grandson, which is a character in there, because their parents are busy chained to something in Japan.
Oy.
But, no, it's after, at the end of it, Sarah Jane mentions the fact that she also had been looking up to people that had formerly traveled with the Doctor. And she tells of the story about these two teachers that had gone on to teach university, I think, at Cambridge. And they were still living together, and the rumor has it that they have not aged a day since 1965.
The rumor, though.
It's a rumor, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rumor. They could dispel it by bringing them out in this. That would just be odd. That would just be
Plus, that was the same episode that established the Doctor has how many thousands of regenerations?
Yeah, but he was being facetious.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch the lines, you can tell he's
No. I've seen that line on YouTube, and yeah, I don't doubt that it was a joke. I'm just saying.
It also told you how Tegan wound up back in Australia fighting for Aboriginal rights. And that Ace was apparently CEO of a corporation that had donated millions to charitable causes.
I remember people talking about how it doesn't sound like something Ace would do unless it was a front for UNIT.
Which is not unlikely. Most definitely not impossible. Or it also could just be a front for her own adventures, to be honest, too. It doesn't need to exactly be tied with UNIT. Maybe the corporations are her own front for her own Torchwood.
Trying to groom Ace to basically be a Time Lord in her own right. How they were talking about letting her go to Gallifrey and stuff. I couldn't quite see that happening, but I always figured out that I always thought it would be interesting to have the director of the Time Agency come to talk to Captain Jack, and it turns out to be Ace.
You've heard of the latest season of Gallifrey? Who's appearing in it, right? Or no?
No, I hadn't.
No.
Ace is a member of the CIA in as in Celestial Intelligence Agency in the
Celestial
current season of
Intervention
Gallifrey.
Agency.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I said intelligence. Damn, I mixed up the American and the Gallifreyan.
Yeah, damn you BBC for doing that back during the Fourth Doctor era.
No, apparently it was an intentional satire of the American CIA, so...
Yeah, I know. It's just now, because of that, we'll say that and get them all confused.
Yeah. The original actor from 1970, hold up, 2, I'm thinking, of Omega, is returning to play the character for the first time since then as well.
Okay.
Oh, and Drusilla plays somebody. I don't remember who, but she's in it, so... While I was talking about it, those are the three.
I didn't know they were making more Gallifrey.
Yeah, I thought they were done.
Yeah.
Okay. They're coming out with more then.
Because they have to walk a very thin line with that.
Yeah.
Because now they know exactly where Gallifrey goes.
Because,
Time War.
But I mean, Gallifrey has gotten to the point where Daleks have invaded, so I think at this point they're just, as long as they don't say the words Time War out loud, or kill Davros in the series, you know, they're going to go right as close to it as they can, I think.
That's going to be interesting.
You know, all of a sudden, the Dalek Nightmare Child appears in a BBC audio drama.
Except they can't, because that happened in Elysium.
Ah,
Unless that happens to be another Time Lord city. Because apparently Arcadia was.
right.
No, I think the Nightmare Child you were thinking of, Bill, was the Cult of Skaro or something like that.
No, the
No,
Nightmare
it was
Child is
it
where
was something that
Davros
they were referring to
ship.
from.
Oh.
Actually, they say the Dalek
Steve
Empire's
Davros,
Nightmare
again,
Child.
He said, the last I saw you was at Elysium, where your ship fell into the heart of the Nightmare Child. I tried to save it. And Davros mentions it wasn't you that saved him, but Dalek Khan.
And now because I remember at one point he refers to it as the Dalek Emperor's Nightmare Child, and I would have thought the Dalek Emperor didn't come around until after Davros was no longer the Emperor.
I never heard it as the Dalek Emperor's Nightmare Child. I've always just heard it referred to as the Nightmare Child.
That might have been a deleted line.
I'm not sure where you're getting that from, Bill.
That's too deep to go into here.
But yeah, this is totally way off the topic now.
Let's talk about the soap opera, I guess.
The mediocre soap opera that no one wants to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If I'd known we were going to talk about this, I would have brought a music sting from Guiding Light.
Yeah, speaking of which, this is really... What should have been stringing this thing together really well was essentially a very mediocre soap opera at best.
And I'm thinking, like...
Matter of fact, I've seen bad soap operas that I've sat down and made fun of that were more entertaining than some parts of this.
Amy and Rory could have held this episode together. Rose and Mickey could have held the episode together, I think. I mean, yeah, because I think Mickey, at least Mickey, you can genuinely tell he cares for. Yeah, but I'm like, Mickey genuinely cares for
Rose, yeah.
Rose, and you can tell that.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I mean, really, the only thing we have to go off is a montage and a sentence thrown into a dialogue that includes the word last year that implies that they've been going out for possibly a year or possibly since the previous trimester.
Okay, and by the way, to answer your question on the aside, was a very early script draft, referred to it as the Dalek Emperor's Nightmare Child, but it was scrapped later on.
Okay, I think...
It doesn't make sense anyway, so...
Yeah, I think that's what he realized, is he didn't want it to be that and scratched it from the later drafts.
Because I thought the same piece of trivia I had seen that said that, I thought had indicated that that the term had also appeared in a comic, but I might be mistaken.
I wouldn't consider comics part of canon anyway.
According to the Writer's Tale.
Gotcha.
Which was Russell T Davies' book about his time at Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And he actually mentions in there that in an early version of the script it was referred to as the Dalek Emperor's Nightmare Child, but then he scratched it.
Okay, I always wondered what the Nightmare Child was a reference to. I mean, it sounded really cool.
Yeah, I still have no clue what the hell it is.
It's one of the indescribable, unspeakable things in the Time War. That's pretty much just...
that doesn't tell us much. And
just like, what was it, the Never-Been King and his army of could-have-beens, was it?
Could have been king and his army of meanwhiles, and could have been, or army of meanwhiles, I think.
Yeah, but there's a ton of stuff from the war they still really haven't covered, and they really should. But anyway, more interesting stuff aside.
Goes to show what we feel about this episode?
Right.
Boring. Mediocre.
All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring up Courtney, but I think we've discussed all we really have to say about her.
Yeah, well, I
There's a
don't know.
leakage.
When you're seeing
There's a
her
spillage.
in episodes up to and prior to this, she's a bit of a prat, really.
Well,
Yeah.
again, she's being a kid
the-
trapped in school. You're gonna be full of ego and little jokes and stuff.
Well, I mean,
she's the class troublemaker anyway.
she's the class troublemaker. She's the big push behind the Ozzy loves the squatty. So we're pretty sure that when we see the 12th Doctor scrubbing off that graffiti, she's the one that did it.
Probably,
Yeah.
or her friends.
She's basically.
I'm kind of wondering if
waiting
she.
to happen.
I'm kind of wondering if are we going to see her travel on the TARDIS alongside the other two, and if so, like,
We
is
have
that going
to.
to be something slowly
She's
built up to,
certainly
or
in the upcoming episode,
that's what it looked like anyway.
and Clara's in the upcoming episode.
I mean, it's entirely possible for the Doctor to keep two groups of companions hidden from one another for an episode or two, but if so, they would find each other eventually. And I would not put it past the Doctor to have Courtney as like a secret companion.
Just because he's sick of these silly grown-up humans. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah, but also might be that she's there, she gets into trouble, and she has to bring Clara and possibly Danny to help save her.
Yeah.
Could she be the life that's in the balance? I don't know. If so, it'd be the case of the Doctor fucking shit up again.
Which seems to be a regular problem lately, doesn't
Well,
it?
this one wasn't his fault.
No, this one wasn't totally his fault, but...
And he did come up with the solution. I actually did like the solution to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
He came up with the solution.
Being an officer?
What?
Being an officer? It was thematically appropriate, at least.
Yeah. I wonder if that's where they were going with this. If so, they were a little blunt with a hammer on it.
Yeah, just a bit.
A wee bit.
Well,
over it.
I can say a lot of things about this.
Who's the lead
season.
writer on this one?
It was Gareth Roberts and
Gareth
I know
Roberts.
Stephen Moffat has his name added to it, and we can probably say that a lot of the
Bad dialogue and
Clara
constant
Danny
fighting.
chemistry is Moffat's work. Moffat!
Well, I know I've seen at least one person theorize that based on their past work, that the first half was Roberts, and then the second half, when it gets to more sci-fi stuff, is Moffat.
No.
No.
No. No, if you look at Danny and Clara's dialogue, it's Moffat writing.
It's all Moffat writing for those two. And it's all bad, stilted, and constantly arguing, which is what they've been doing for the entire fucking season.
It seems he's the only one allowed to write Danny, just like he's the only one allowed to write River.
Oh, and also the fact that we also got to see the quote-unquote nether spear or whatever again.
Watch. Stephen Moffat's going to write it so that Danny is actually River's son, and therefore the Doctor's son.
Aw, everyone gets a happy ending.
No, not the fans.
Who cares about us?
Yeah.
The people who write the show should care.
Because if they do that, I will be so freaking enraged. I may actually have to stop watching the show.
Yeah, that would be about the time I step out.
Shoehorn! Gotta get that shoehorn in!
Fuck that, I've had enough of Mary Sue's in this goddamn show. Moffat can stop writing them, please.
I'd stop watching until Moffat left.
Mm-hmm. That could be the camel that breaks the show's back, and we'll have to go back to Super Tokusatsu now. Because at least Japan's doing shows right, apparently.
Apparently DC's doing right, too.
For the most part, yeah.
Arrow, The Flash, Gotham's good.
Yeah, I've been hearing little tidbits about Gotham. I'm still not sure what to think about it. It'll probably be one of those things I won't make my mind up on until I see it.
Yeah,
Watching
I'm
it's good.
this type of show. I'm not interested in making up an opinion about it until at least episode 5. I'd rather just watch it and see what happens for the first few episodes and what it's going to be.
And I might add that watching stuff like Arrow and Gotham and so forth are sadly buried under a monstrously large pile of stuff I need to go through anyways.
Yeah.
Like Kolchak the Night Stalker, Dark Shadows. Oh god, and the list goes on. I really gotta start sitting down and watching Dark Shadows more often. Should start doing vlogs about that. Just watch like 5 episodes.
The original Dark Shadows, or
the original Dark Shadows. I mean, these episodes are
Ah.
black and white right now. The ones I've seen so far.
I used to watch a lot of that on Sci-Fi Channel. I was a regular watcher.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing the new one.
Ugh.
The new one was bad in comparison.
The new one was.
They had better
rubbish.
special effects, but the character acting was not as good as the original.
Not to mention they made it all really bad, campy humor, and it's not that in Dark Shadows.
We've got 20-ish minutes, and we seem intent to talk on anything
But
other
the
than
show.
the Caretaker.
Because it's
So
one of
do
those
we-
episodes where you don't really have anything that you really care to talk about. It
Well,
happened.
Everything that I cared to talk about got discussed like in the first 15 minutes of talking about the episode.
Yeah, that's because there's not much to talk about. It's an episode.
It's a boring meh episode
Yeah.
that will be completely and totally forgotten.
Yeah.
It's not an episode that brings out our ire and rage, but it's also an episode that doesn't really do anything that big for us to begin
As
with.
a writer, it pisses me off. Completely.
Okay, you can talk about that.
Go.
Well, I mean, okay, actually, this we haven't really well, we've kind of mentioned it. The fact that there's that whole because I love him thing out of nowhere when they've shown absolutely no chemistry all season.
Oh yeah, that's one thing we hadn't talked about either.
And then like I said, the only thing that kind of justifies it is the mention of a last year, implying that it's been some time since they started dating.
Yeah, this is, we were talking the night it aired, and we realized, I actually sat down and had to do research on this, is finding out when British schools typically have their parents' nights, because that's what they call the parent-teacher meetings, is parents' nights.
Mm-hmm.
And because the fact that you remember that Into the Dalek, Danny Pink came in, he was a new teacher.
Yes, he was a brand new teacher that was being introduced to this established teacher, Clara, who
Yes.
I don't think we mentioned in our Deep Breath review. That Deep Breath kind of implied that she was about 4 years older than she was in Bells of St. John.
Yeah. So some time has passed there,
Yeah.
which is why we've seen her go from nanny to teacher.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about that, actually.
Because she was, I think, 23 in Bells of St. John, where she was clearly 27 in Deep Breath.
And what this means, though, is the fact that when they're in the parent-teacher conference in this one, or in the parents' night, talking to Courtney's parents, Danny says that she's a disruptive influence, and they turn around and say, well, last time you said she was a very disruptive influence, so that means there's been improvement, meaning that Danny was there for the last conference.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
we're talking about whether that means last calendar year or last academic year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said last year. But from what I read, British schools tend to use the trimester school system. So each school trimester is approximately 10 weeks with a 2-week vacation. And they usually have their parents' nights on the first and third trimester. So
it's been roughly almost a year.
No, well, hold on. School starts at the 1st of September, kind of like it does in Harry Potter. Generally, their first parents' night is in October, and school ends in the first week of December, or the first or second week of December. They have 2 weeks for Christmas. They start again in January, and then they end in mid-April for Easter. And then they start again, and they go through till they start again shortly after Easter, and they go through till the end of July. And so they usually have their second Parents' Night in May. So Into the Dalek happened in September, and that means the earliest that this could happen is May, and that seems or April or May, and that seems to coincide with the weather that we're seeing since it's bright, sunny, kids are playing soccer outside. So that means over the course of 4 episodes, in the life of Clara, it has been nine months.
Well, to be fair, most of that was this episode because Listen was very clearly shortly after Into the Dalek, whereas this episode starts with a montage.
Yeah, but we still don't know where Time Heist fits in.
Yeah.
So
Time Heist could have very easily been in the middle
interesting,
of that.
I do know that there have been novels and such about in this era, so I'm kind of wondering if the montage actually matches up with any of them, or if it was
Probably
just
not.
literally a stretching device.
Just a
It's
stretching
not-
device.
Because basically the reason, I've said this before, the reason that Doctor Who had this new format where the companions stay home and the Doctor shows up and takes them on amazing adventures is so they can add this filler in with novels where they can choose that the Doctor's either on himself or has picked up the companion, you know?
Well, I mean, it's the same, in theory, the same producer that commissions these novels, or at least greenlights them, is the same person who was a co-writer in this episode. So he could have been like, hey, I'm going to write a scene where they're in the desert, write a book about that type of deal.
Yeah, but at the same time, they've never really fully given the full canon go to the Doctor Who novels.
No, but I'm not saying like the novel's influencing the episode. I'm more vice versa, where an episode, a scene that's going to be in an episode and therefore is canon, is used to spin off a story about it.
I probably don't think so, but it's possible.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it. It's just a little clip from an episode stating, "Oh, we've had wacky adventures."
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. So
Thereabouts.
it's time to go to our final thoughts. So I will then do the final thoughts in the order that people are on my Skype window. And that starts with Tim.
Okay, so I thought this episode was meh. I liked the beginning with the wacky sitcom-style shenanigans of the Doctor in the school and Claire running around trying to keep the Doctor a secret. Everyone, that could have been explored more thoroughly. I like the design of the robot. But I felt there were just like too many elements being thrown together, and like this episode had no idea of what it was trying to be, like whether it was trying to be a straight comedy or like a drama, or it was kind of off-putting. So yeah, that's my my take.
Okay, Aaron?
It was an okay episode. I wasn't really that drawn into it. There wasn't like a whole lot of mystery. The monster felt like it was tacked on. I guess some of the drama between Pink and Clara and the Doctor was okay. I actually really kind of liked gosh, I keep thinking of her name now. The girl.
Courtney.
Courtney Woods, yeah. I actually kind of liked her. I thought she was kind of the highlight of the episode. She kind of livened things up a little bit. That's it for me.
Courtney, who everybody over the summer on the internet seemed to assume was going to be Danny's sister because she was black.
Arg.
Okay,
Well,
Matt?
Racism. Me. I have to agree that Courtney is got some interesting banter going there with the Doctor, and if they decide to keep her on, that'd be a possible positive for next episode, but we'll also have to see what the next episode holds. Also, speaking of something that didn't get much talk, but I can bring some light to it since I saw some interesting images. Apparently, the robot for this episode was actually an animatronic, for the most part. Because they actually had a stand for it on a green screen and everything. So they had to animate that thing themselves, and it's another creature that twice in a row now they've actually put in some decent money into. So it'll be nice to see him come back with hopefully a slightly better story where he's less haphazardly thrown into it.
Okay, is that everything, Matt?
The main thrust of the story, which is supposed to be the relationship stuff, is very, very bland and leaves you with an overall feeling of eh. That's it.
Bill?
This was an episode in a relatively boring, relatively on Doctor Who terms, a relatively boring subgenre written by two writers who both should have known how to do it right. Neither one of them, either they interfered with each other too much or just didn't put their effort into it or what, but neither one of them pulled it off really to half the level they should have. A lot of important things fell unnecessarily flat, and after Time Heist, it's a huge drop down and a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for mine.
Okay. You know, at other series, the midpoint is usually a nice big two-parter that you can really sink your teeth into. But since Moffat's been kind of shying away from the two-parters, except for finales, we don't get that. And instead of being this, this nice big keystone for the season, we're getting meh. It's really bad writing. I almost swear for a good chunk of this episode, I actually thought there was more chemistry between Anakin Skywalker and Amidala in the prequels than there is between Clara and Danny Pink. The monster was meh. It probably could have. I don't think it's because of the design. I think it just could have been utilized better.
Yeah, I think they used too much of the green screen. Might have been the problem with that.
Well, there could have been. Oh, sorry. Not much.
It could have been. It could have been utilized in a way that would have made it seem lively and better, and it just came off as uninteresting. The romance was uninteresting. And as much as some of you seem to have liked Courtney, I'm really afraid it's going to take a Nightmare in Silver turn with her and wind up with just despising her.
We'll have to wait and see. But she does have far better banter with the Doctor than the other previous kids did, though.
We'll see. One of the things I am noticing is that 1 minute you'll be getting a line coming out of the 12th Doctor that is pure 12th Doctor, and then the line he gets 5 seconds later is an 11th Doctor line. So we're halfway through the season and we're still seeing that.
And I can blame that on one writer because it seems to keep recurring in his scripts.
Yep.
Last name starts with M?
Yeah.
Anybody? Yeah.
Yeah. Not going to take two guesses on that one.
So, and all in all, I do believe this is a case of too many cooks spoil the broth, because you're right, it does not seem to know whether it wants to be comedic or it wants to be dramatic. And you kind of have to go with largely one with a touch of the other. Trying
for
to have
a TV show, yeah.
Trying to have it go half and half is not going to work. And it just comes off as kind of lost, muddled, and confused. Which is how I think the fans are getting at this point. So, ratings. We're all pros here. We know the drill.
Tim, you first.
I give it 3 stars.
Being very nice to it.
Okay. Aaron.
I give it 2.5.
Matt.
I am also falling in the 2.5 range.
Okay. Bill.
2.5.
Yeah, I kind of have to give it a 2.5. It didn't quite hit that 3 level for me.
That puts us at an average of 2.6 between the 5 of us.
So it's just below average.
And based on what I was mentioning earlier,
Yeah, that's right. You have the actual numbers for that, don't you?
yes, I
just have
do. That will put this episode
assuming second from the bottom.
above Listen, but below Deep Breath.
Deep breath. We all know because every single person I've ever seen talk about the deep breath gave it a 3. So it's very
Yeah.
easy to judge things off of that.
Yeah.
But Listen's average was a 2.4. So this is just above Listen. So going from top to bottom, it is Time Heist, Into the Dalek, Robot of Sherwood, Deep Breath, The Caretaker, and Listen for our ratings for this year. So Time Heist 4.8, Into the Dalek 3.9, Robot of Sherwood 3.71, Deep Breath 3, The Caretaker 2.6, and Listen at 2.4.
So there's a 0.2 difference between episodes could either equal an episode I just don't really care about and will forget, compared to an episode that will get out the rage.
Well, yeah, Listen's the only one that's made me physically angry.
Mm-hmm.
Deep Breath was kind of disappointing. This one almost made me angry, but mostly I would have had to care enough to be angry.
Exactly. So there's a 2-point difference about caring to be angry at something that deserves
And the top 3
interest.
I kind of liked.
Yeah, and the top
Heist
3
I
have been
really
okay.
liked.
And the
Time
top
Heist
one
is-
I really like.
Yeah, Time Heist is still the only episode we had to rate above a 4.0, which really means that everything else has kind of just been on the upper edge of mediocrity.
Which is not a good thing to be doing on a TV show.
No. And the bottom third of it is below mediocrity.
So anyway, we've only got about a minute left, so it's time
Oh.
for closers.
Yep, next week we will be doing Kill the
Next week
Moon.
we are killing the moon.
Gonna
Don't
shoot
kill
it right
the
between
moon.
the eyes.
What has it ever done to you?
Light of
Yeah.
the night sky, curse you, moon.
And if you kill the moon, where will the Inhumans live?
There was the one time that it sicked a werewolf on me.
Yeah, that's true. No more moon, no more werewolves.
Also, no more aliens turning into giant monkeys.
Yeah.
DBZ reference.
Okay, so tune in next week, probably the same time. We will be discussing that episode. We can't really say more because all we've seen is the trailers.
Yep. See you all next time.
Ooh. Something I'll have to mention next week.